To Mrs. Josie Childs, to Attorney Jim Montgomery, and to the Harold Washington Legacy Committee. I was blessed to be a part of the ministers for Washington when he made his historic run for the 5th floor of City Hall. I am honored today to be a part of this legacy celebration, and I thank you for the invitation. Would you bow your heads in prayer? Eternal God, we thank you for giving us a man, a giant, a mentor like Harold Washington. We thank you for the words of his friend, Judge R. Eugene Pensham, who said, "You can't be what you can't see." We thank you for giving us a model for generations of young African-American boys and girls to see. One who was a genius and a giant, one who was articulate and intelligent, most of all, a man of integrity, who not only finished law school at the top of his class, so our young boys and girls could see that, but a black man who was a state representative, a state senator, and then a United States Congressman long before he said yes to the communities asking him to run for the office of mayor of the city of Chicago. We thank you for a man who brought integrity to that office, a man who, along with the community, went up against the rock-solid Democratic committee and won. A black man who beat the Democratic machine. A black man who was determined to bring honesty to the office of mayor, and who did so. A strong black man who fought the Vidoliak 29 and who fought them with integrity and honesty. We thank you for his life. We thank you for his legacy. And we thank you for those who are trying to keep that legacy alive, to teach generations yet unborn to see what an honest black man looks like in the 20th century and for centuries to come. Thank you for giving us someone in this era of the Trump foolishness who shows us how politics does not have to be a pack of lies, how politics does not have to be hate, but a man like Harold Washington, who worked across the aisle and who worked across racial lines, a man who worked with Hispanics, Latinos, Latinx, who worked with the Jewish community, who worked with the white ethnic community, and who galvanized the black community to show us what honesty looks like in the flesh. We thank you for giving us that model to see. It is my prayer this day as we honor his legacy in life, that you gave us a model that generations will not only see, but emulate. We ask these blessings in the name of the one who is the model for us all when it comes to integrity, honesty, and truth. In his name and for his sake we pray that all the people of God together say, Amen.
Welcome. We welcome you to the 33rd anniversary memorial commemorative of our late wonderful Mayor Harold Washington. Harold Washington was a fantastic person whose goal was to help people, help everybody achieve everything that they wanted to in life. Harold was not only our mayor, Harold was also a veteran, an Army veteran. He was also a politician, a precinct captain, first congressional representative, as well as an Illinois state senator and representative. Harold did many things to help us, and it is on this day, November the 25th, which is also the day that he died 33 years ago, that we are standing here today to memorize him. Will we please drop our heads and welcome one moment of silence for a man that we held in respect. Thank you.
My name is James D. Montgomery, and I was Harold Washington's Corporation Counsel for the City of Chicago from 1983 until 1986. Harold Washington was born in 1922 and passed away on November 25, 1987. He served as mayor of Chicago from 1983 to 1987. He was elected for 2 terms. He defeated Richard M. Daley and Jane Byrne in the 1983 Democratic primary, and he defeated Bernard Epton, the Republican, in the 1983 general election. He served as a U.S. Congressman, 1st Congressional District, from 1981 to 1983. Harold grew up on Chicago's South Side, and after serving in the United States Army, graduated from Roosevelt College. He finished Northwestern University Law School in 1952. Harold joined the 3rd Ward Democratic Party organization and became a precinct captain, a position his father held before him. He was a Democratic Party organization loyalist with a streak of independence throughout his career as a state representative for 12 years and as a state senator for about 2 years. That streak of independence got him in trouble with the late Mayor Richard J. Daley, who refused to slate Harold at one point, but was persuaded to do so by some of his loyalists. Harold, of course, was elected and slated and elected. Harold had a sense over his years as a loyal Democrat that his party served only a part of the city's residents and neglected those citizens of color and even white citizens who enjoyed little political clout. By the time Harold became mayor of the city of Chicago, he had managed a political career in which he steered away from radical politics, feeling that he could best serve his people from the inside, but enjoyed the respect of the radical movement. This respect was mutual. Harold had a sense of politics as an act of achieving and exercising power for the benefit of the citizens who elected him. He could spot an impolitic course of action before it was fully expressed. I remember one occasion where Bill Ware, Chief of Staff, Rayson Mitchell, his publicist, and I were discussing how we would advise the mayor on an employee who had been exposed as a pimp and a person with a record. He also happened to have been a friend of the mayor. Both Bill and Grayson decided, hell, he's got to go because of, that's not good for the mayor. And I said the man has paid his debt to society, and he should stay on the job. Harold was being informed, and before they finished telling the story, he said, no, he's got to go, and away he went. It is important that we pause on this 33rd anniversary of his passing, and that we pay tribute to this giant of a man and political figure. Let it be known by our young people that Harold loved his city, that he so loved his city that he set out to change it, that he effectively destroyed the democratic machine and its failure to represent all of its citizens. Let it be known that Harold made the city government and its actions transparent, that he signed the city's first executive order mandating freedom of information to the people of Chicago, that he created equity in the distribution of public services, whether it was creating equal mileage in the wards for new city streets or placing curbs and sidewalks for previously cloutless neighborhoods. He provided opportunities to all in access to Chicago jobs and contracting, signing the city's first executive order mandating contracting opportunities to women and minorities. Let it also be known that Harold Washington endeared himself not only to minorities and women, but he earned the respect and admiration of all the citizens of Chicago, and as he frequently said, I believe that had he lived, he would have been the mayor for 20 years. An example is we were invited to a Polish banquet on the northwest side where Harold and Mike Royko were at the podium. At that point, there must have been about 50 women lined up just to touch Harold's hand. Nobody paid any attention to Royko, but these basically women from the Polish community had, Harold was a person that they loved. He had this big toothless laugh and this great friendly grin, and he was a great mayor to all the people. Harold grew up in Bronzeville, raised largely by his dad. His dad was a lawyer, minister, and precinct captain, and raised a son who was a gift to the city, state, and nation. Thank you.
So if you Google Harold Washington, you'll probably be directed to something that refers or is about the so-called Council Wars. But the true essence of the Washington years was a firm belief that we could take on Chicago's multiple crises in education, affordable housing, public safety, and employment, solving the inherent and historic failures of public education, public housing, safety, and police misconduct was possible, necessary, desirable. Harold Washington embraced the challenge, taking on a snarly political mess, going toe-to-toe with an intransigent opposition that was unwilling to relinquish its privilege and power. He engaged all of us, and especially those most affected, harnessing the city's expertise and creativity unfettered by the manipulations and corrupt intents of the political establishment. He knew this was not a cakewalk, and he reminded us again and again how important a strong backbone was to be able to be confronted at every turn by those who so deeply feared a city of fairness. As the media demanded he compromise, when his opposition refused to do just that, he stayed the course. He would tell us that taking on Chicago's legacy of institutional racism and institutional corruption would be a protracted struggle. Again and again, he reminded us that it would take at least 20 years to effect the political and cultural change necessary if we were to achieve true structural change in how our government and city conducted its business, if we were to see an end to racism and corruption. Sorry about this. We got lucky with Harold. He was Chicago's first black mayor, and he was a progressive, a man with a huge heart, a deep understanding, and an immeasurable intellect. Harold Washington, the congressman and then candidate for mayor, embraced the fight against Reaganomics and its trickle-down theory of economics. He embraced the multiple movements active in Chicago and became the lightning rod that united the interests of many who reciprocated by joining the very broad umbrella he provided. These common interests came with a plan, his path to fairness, if you will. He made his mark in his first term. The city's finances have been stabilized. Resources to fix potholes, park services, preventive health care, affordable housing, sewer repairs, and so much more were now distributed equally through the city, with an emphasis on correcting past inequities. But fairness was a work in progress. The school reform he sought was to prepare our children to have the tools they would require to realize their full potential as we prepare to transition into the 21st century. The school reform he sought bolstered and protected public education. The reform he sought provided an education for all by guaranteeing the resources for a public school system to thrive. Against steep odds and a deck stacked against any change he was taking to end police misconduct and the spigot of the pipeline, and to turn off the spigot of the pipeline to criminalization that was so prevalent in all of Chicago's low-income communities. His support of innovative approaches to address gang violence was just getting off the ground when he died. He knew the inequities people of color experienced within the police department and the misconduct by police that was experienced daily by Chicago's Black, Latino, and poor white communities, as well as the same communities' sincere desire and longing for public safety that served them fairly and effectively. He was prepared to confront Chicago's affordable housing crisis head-on. Advocates, activists, developers were all recruited to be part of the solution. As he navigated the very disappointing and destructive withdrawal of federal resources from Chicago's urban cities. 33 years later, our challenges remain the same, even as the landscape has changed. We are here today as we have been on the eve of Thanksgiving for the last 32 years to honor and remember Harold. Generations have come and gone in that time. The last few years, and especially this year of 2020, have been years of unrest and insecurity. New leadership has emerged. Many, especially young people, have been energized to act. We have had some victories, but racism and corruption are still with us. The respect we have from Harold comes from his life well lived in the service of the people. We learned a lot from knowing him, working with him, and following his leadership. Let's make sure we stay the course. Where's Harold? Right here in our hearts.
Today, I'm honored to be standing here at the gravesite of the most progressive mayor of Chicago that we've ever had in Harold Washington. I'm sad because I watched videos of him saying he was going to be mayor for 20 years. Unfortunately, we only got 4.5. And I know if he was mayor 20 years, things would have been totally different today. But I'm hopeful because his style of politics has become what's popular over recent times. Many politicians try to walk in his footsteps, but fall short because it's not the real them. Harold Washington was one of the most progressive politicians that I've ever studied, and it was actually the real him. He once said that we have destroyed the dinosaur. Well, the dinosaur had babies, and when he died, the pack returned and has been ruling to this day, stomping on the lives of the working class and poor. This pack of dinosaurs feeds and protects and fights to keep their power. If Mayor Washington spoke today, he would not be proud of what happened of what's happened in Chicago the last 33 years. The brutality at the hands of police, and even a child shot 16 times. Building up downtown while black people are starving and fending for themselves in their own neighborhoods. It's time to turn the tide, and new leadership must rise in our city to live out the true legacy of Harold Washington, to make this city the greatest city for all, not just the top 1%. This is what would make Mayor Washington happy, to see people who embolden his values in leadership positions. Young people are tired of the same corrupt leadership that has plagued us for decades. We've seen those die because of the lack of health care. We've had to watch our parents struggle with low wages and still lights cut off. Had to go to college unprepared from our public school system, and then swim in debt from student loans. I grew up bracing myself for my next friend to be killed from senseless gun violence, and watch politicians point fingers rather than explore solutions. We are done playing politics. It's time for real progress. That's what Mayor Washington would have wanted for us. But we still have time. We can slay that dinosaur again. And if we do it together through the next generation of leaders, we can do it. Rest in peace to Harold Washington, and I'm going to do everything I can to finally make you proud of the city that you love. Thank you.
This song is dedicated to the late, great Harold Washington. It's called The Legacy. We miss you, my brother. We miss you.
There was a man with a master plan. He put his heart in the city. He paved the way for you and me. He taught us how to live in harmony. Ticket for us to see the rainbow reflection of his legacy. The fighting in the council with the 29, it rested heavily on Harold's mind. The legacy, the legacy. He made us stand side by side. He realized his days were getting shorter for you and I. If he were here today, I know he would say, let's unify this city. Let's come together. It is his legacy for you and for me. His legacy. legacy.
It makes no difference whether you're brown or white. We all were precious in Harold's sight. He left a ticket. He gave us our marching orders. Aurelia, Carol, Joe, this is for you.
The legacy, the legacy, the legacy, yeah. The legacy, the legacy.
Where would we be without Harold Washington? He took this city of broad shoulders and put this city on his shoulders. And he projected, carried this city away from its indistinguishable and sordid past, and brought us to a point where we had a promise of a glowing and bright and productive future. I am so proud of the fact that not only was I elected to the city council when Harold was elected in 1983, sworn in with him, but I'm also so proud of the fact that he is my predecessor in the Congress. His reputation as a spokesman, as an effective legislator, as a brilliant strategist, and as a creative genius using the legislative process is still legendary in the Congress. There are a few who served with him, and they speak glowingly of the time that he spent in Washington. But Harold means, as he does to each and every one of you, so much more than just a career in Congress. As a mayor of the city of Chicago, he represented every nook and cranny of this city. He used to boast about his ability to reach out to all sectors of this city. And he used to repeat his resolve that nobody can hide from Harold because Harold would seek them out and make their lives even better. We've come a long way since that tragic day, many, many years ago. But we have so far to go. And I think that it is fitting for us to once again gather here to lift up the legacy and remind this city of what Harold Washington stood for, what he stood on, who he stood against, and for us to continue the fight. Harold Washington broke the back of the Democratic machine, and that machine is still broken even today. It will never ever be what it used to be because of Harold Washington. And so I'm just so ecstatic and giddy just to be here once again with those who lift his name up because we shouldn't ever forget how bright our city shined. Our city was indeed a city on a hill when Harold was mayor of this city. The nation was changed when Harold Washington became mayor of this city. He pointed the way forward to cities, major cities all across this nation when he became mayor. So I am so honored just to be here with you and to help elevate his legacy just a little bit more. Thank you very much, and God bless each and every one of you.
My name is James Houlihan, former Cook County Assessor, but more importantly, a friend and colleague of Harold's in Springfield. As Helen Shiller, the Alderman, said, Harold saw injustice and he craved a solution with such intensity. But beyond that, Harold taught us that when we fight for justice, we must also know how to laugh. Harold taught us that in these battles, we should dance and bring together people of different views in the quest for justice, fairness, and equity. Harold, we will dance with you every day looking forward.
Hey Frank, wait, one more. Frank, can you and Kevin just come over here and get in the photo on both sides real fast before we over here, Kevin. You're on the other side. Okay, that's good. All right. Okay, thank you. Now we're gonna place the wreath on the stand up here. Just turn around here and get going back to the doorway there. Good. Go right back here. photo, please? Jamal? Okay, Mr. Day, you could. Yeah, he's gonna blow taps and get a photo.
And this concludes the wreath laying ceremony for Harold Washington.